to Small Business Saturday.
Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
Gotta love the internet this morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome. We've got the Montgomerys here. This is Kylene Montgomery, and I'm Aaron Montgomery. And Kylene, what's your business?
WeHeart.biz.
WeHeart.biz. And as you guys know, I'm at aaronmontgomery.info. And right up here, you can see our successgroup.com. So I hope everybody's having a great morning. We're still working on the lighting on the green screen. So my shirt is actually somehow part of the green screen. So that's fun. So that you can just see us floating in Pamaluka. Yeah. So I may have to jump in here and fix the green screen from every now and again. But hey, we'll get that going. So anyhow, welcome. Hopefully everybody's having a good start to your Saturday. Getting some coffee or tea or whatever. Kylene, do you have your coffee?
I do.
Oh, that's even green screeny too. Fun. All right. Well, cheers, everybody. So today we are going to talk about failing forward and, what that means and how we can use that to our advantage and those types of things. So what does failing forward mean to you, Kylene?
If an opportunity is presented to you, to not be scared to fail. You just have to keep trying. Come on in here. So pretend like you like me and trying to jam ourselves in front of this camera here and make the green screen work as the sun comes up in front of us here this morning. So it'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So we're failing, right? But we're not afraid of it. We're going to we're failing at green screen right now. But anyhow, so failing forward, as you've jumped in and started to kind of get your business going, what did failing feel like before you really got into this?
Oh, it was the scariest thing ever. I would avoid things that I thought I would fail at because it's not a good feeling. But when you have your own business, you're not protected by anyone else. So if you don't keep trying new things, you won't have a business. And I learned that the hard way with some encouragement.
Encouragement. I love that on camera she calls it encouragement, but what was it really? What did I do?
Some pushes, strong pushes.
Strong pushes. Okay.
I mean, you just have to be willing to try it and then learn from it. And then if it works, that's awesome. You're one step closer to your goal.
Nice. Okay. All right. Maria, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. Yeah, we're talking about failing forward. So there's a really good book by a gentleman named John C. Maxwell, kind of a motivational speaker, and it's called Failing Forward. So, we're borrowing the term. This is something that people have talked about a lot. And so there's plenty of information out there about this, but we wanted to condense this down into some points that we felt were the kind of the basis of it and things that we've used. And as Kylene mentioned, the pushing that I do on her is sometimes a little more forceful than she would probably like. So I appreciate you putting up with me.
Yes.
So Sandy's checking in. Good morning, Sandy. Thank you for joining us bright and early this morning. And Todd, morning all. Good morning, sir. How's everything going? And good friend Will. Will, how are you, sir? Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Here we go. Not borrowing, spreading the message with your own twist. I love it, Todd. Yep, that's what we're doing. In fact, speaking of John C. Maxwell's book, here's a Amazon link for it. I'll throw that in the comments there for everybody. Wade, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And who else? Cheryl, good morning. Hey, we're going to see you in a couple of days here on Tuesday. Be getting together, so looking forward to seeing you. And Kristen, excellent. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. All right, cool. So again, here's that link if you want to go check out that book. It's definitely worth a read there. So that's an Amazon link over there. It's an affiliate link. So if you want to check it out, it'll help us out. But oh, good. Amazon, our Alexa just was talking to us and told us to enjoy our weekend. So we're practicing all sorts of fails this morning. But all right, Kylie, let's
move forward.
We're gonna fail forward here. All right, so let's jump into this. The first thing, and I think this might be the obvious or kind of duh moment, but at the end of the day, the way to manage failure is to have no regrets. To have no, to just go for it and then not worry about what the outcome is. And so one of the things that we found as we were kind of researching this and looking into this was our average total time on this planet is about 30,000 days. And you think of 30,000, it's a decent sized number. But when you think about that as the fact that, we're on this planet for 30,000 days, and really by the time we get to this point in our lives, I hope I've got 15,000 days left, but you don't know, maybe it's 10,000 days left at this point, and so, what does no regrets look like to you, Kylene?
Just means be willing to try something. I mean, if you fail, again, what we're talking about, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, what
especially in business. I mean,
yeah, correct. So failures when we're putting together a Facebook ad, or we've made a shirt that we've misspelled or something like that. Yes, it sucks, and yes, it's hard, and yes, some of these failures are our business. This is our lives, and so it feels like it's the end of the world. It feels like when you're on there, you can't. You're doing something, and I think I've said this to you before. It's like, Kylene, just do it. You're not going to break the internet. You're not going to break Facebook just by You're not going to run off all of your followers just because one post didn't go exactly how you wanted it. So
early on it would take me like a half hour just to come up with a sentence, because I had obsess over every single word, just fearing that I was going to put the wrong thing out there. But really, at least I was putting something out there, looking back at it.
Yeah, for sure. So, so you don't want to focus on the opportunity for failure. What you need to focus on is to celebrate what is achieved. So when you've put something out there, think about what what you've done within WeHeart.biz, where you're. One of the things I think you were most afraid of when you first started was doing this and doing the, and every Friday you do a live.
Yep. Yeah.
And so maybe talk to us about that progression.
Yeah. So I think it was April when we started officially WeHeart.biz full time. And was it July was the first Facebook Live that I did, if I remember correctly. And it took me that long to build up the courage to do it. And those first ones were not pretty. They're still not really that great where I want them to be, but at least I'm doing them. And each one I kind of learn a little bit from it.
Yeah.
And
yesterday you had a backdrop.
Yeah, that was nice.
Instead of just my ramblings and writings on the back wall.
On the whiteboard. Yeah.
And now we're even doing green screen. Not very well yet, but we're working on it. Efforting. So Cheryl says consistency is key.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. Look at some of the things that I've been involved with. One of the things that I'm most proud of right now is there are a lot of things, but one of the things that I think I'm most well known for right now and most proud of is Two Regular Guys. And just like Kylene said, it wasn't pretty when I talked to somebody new about that hasn't ever heard of Two Regular Guys before. I always preface it with maybe skip that first year. You don't need to go back that far. There's 7 other years that you can go listen to. And still to this day, we have failures. Yesterday we couldn't get the intro in correctly and get that going. And then we had a guest that kept falling out, and the week before you couldn't hear our guest. So these are all things that, yes, I'm that type of person that, it's like, oh, I hate that. Oh, it really makes me upset and I don't want to fail. And I really despise failure. But if you can embrace it. And one of the things that I've had to really work on and still work on a lot is the fact that, we need to celebrate what is achieved. I many times forget that, and Todd, I don't know if you remember this or if this was just stands out more to me. So you can tell me if I'm wrong, but one of the first Our Success Group videos that we did, it was fantastic. I think it was the second one that we did where for whatever reason, I got done with it. And all I could do was pick out all the things that I failed at and all the things that I did wrong and wanted to do better. And, we were kind of talking after the training was over, and I don't know if he felt it or not, but I just got done talking to Todd. I'm like, oh my God, I was just a total jerk. I didn't celebrate what we had just done, which was a really cool training.
Mm-hmm.
So, just learning to understand, to celebrate what was achieved. And, so then the other piece of it here that I think is also important, Kylene, share with us here how else we can deal with this stuff.
Yeah, kind of when you are in that moment of failure or something's not working, just remembering to have that attitude of gratitude. Remind yourself of all the things that you have good in your life, and that when you're in that real frustrating moment, and that'll take you into that positive state of mind to kind of get you through that frustrating situation. I found that helps me. It also helps me get the courage to try some new things as well. It just gets me in that good state of mind. So that's a tip to remember. That's
great. So remember the attitude of gratitude. There's a quotable moment by Kylene Montgomery. There you go. Sandy, this is a great point, Sandy. We are our worst critics. And that is a hard lesson to learn, is that fact that, what we're putting out there, it is so close to us. It is so important to us. It's our business. It's our baby. It's our, it's what we've worked so incredibly hard on. And so we're able to pick out every single one of those failures, and we're able to pick out every single one of those little things that just didn't go right.
Yeah.
But the folks from the outside looking in, they probably didn't see any of that. And if they did, they don't really care that much, that they're just appreciative that you're putting it out there. They're appreciative that you're making the effort. So,
like Facebook Lives, when you watch them after the fact, and I hear words that I made up or just use the wrong word in that sentence, and it's pretty brutal sometimes.
So we definitely are our own worst critics, and if we can remember that, if we can have that consciousness in that moment of being our own worst critics, to tell ourselves, you know what though, remember, let's focus, celebrate what's achieved, have that attitude of gratitude, the fact that we have the ability to sit here and have this conversation and to, as Todd says here, relate to our tribe, and be part of this community. And that's what's so cool. I mean, it's 7:15 a.m. and you guys are all here with us. And that is a super grateful opportunity for me. And so we appreciate that. All right. So that's kind of the first point here. No regrets, right?
Yeah.
So the second point here is to face what isn't working and embrace change. So this really is, comes from the book. And Kylie, if you'll hold that up for folks, let's see how this does on the green screen. Oh yeah. Ooh. Fun.
Looks kind of cool.
So we're currently on a white screen. I got to get a better color screen here. That's what's going on. But these are principles 30 and 31 in here. Yeah. And when we face what isn't working, and what we have to do here is this is how we kind of get over our fear of failing. Is we take this and we look at it as an opportunity. We cannot be afraid to make mistakes. And so talk to us about that, Kylene. What does that look like? Face what isn't working and embrace change.
Well, it's being willing to accept some feedback, and then look at that and be willing to learn from it so you can apply something different to getting closer to your goal. That failure isn't like I said earlier, the end of the world. It's something you can learn from it.
Yeah.
And keep moving forward.
Nice. So speaking of failure, I love how we've got some lights here from our window. The sun's coming up now, and
it's like reflecting.
It is. We got all sorts of fun stuff on the video. Hopefully, this will be a much better podcast, folks. No. All right. So basically, we're taking these opportunities, and we're looking forward to this, and we're going to talk a little bit how we can take advantage of these failures here at the end. But if we are kind of going, you know what, this is an opportunity. It's a learning opportunity. It's, again, I'm at least doing something, and that's
moving forward.
Yeah, and that's what failing forward is. It's we're failing, but we're moving forward with it. We're taking those opportunities, and so if we can learn to actually embrace that. Oh yeah, this is great. We're getting some really cool stuff going on.
We're going to disappear
soon. We are going to disappear. So let's get a couple more comments. Mildred, good morning. Thank you. Will, cheers to the free coffee. And well, I've got tea this morning, actually. But yes, so Will, if you wouldn't mind just going around and filling everybody's cup up for us, please. I'd appreciate that. All right. And Jim, good morning. Thanks for checking in this morning. You're over there on the East Coast, so it's 8 o'clock, man. You're probably a couple cups of coffee in if you're a coffee drinker. And Ruth says, "Fail fast," and that's a great one. Oh man, I try to close these drapes? Let's do it. We're gonna close the drapes a little bit here. Excuse us for.
Sorry, you got that was a really bad idea.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so we'll fix the green screen. All right, we gave it a try. Leela, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Cool. All right, so talk to us about number 3 here, Kylene.
Oh, 100% responsibility. That's a tough one. It's not always easy to do, but when you can embrace just totally being responsible for what's happened, it's easier to make changes and learn from your failure when you can take responsibility for what happened. It's reflecting back. It's maybe I could have done this script differently, or maybe I could have wrote this sentence differently, whatever it may be. It's just totally taking 100% responsibility. E plus R equals O, right?
E plus R equals O. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and like Kylene said, it's not always the easiest thing to do. It's, we don't want to be a victim, because here's what happens when we're a victim, when our surroundings are, help me out with what word I'm looking for there, maybe Kylene, if that you come up with it, but basically when you're taking what's happening to you and you're looking at that from a victim mindset, then what happens is you've given away your power. You've given away your superpower, and your superpower is that you can control your own life. You can control your own destiny. And I'm not saying that there aren't things that just really suck and that really maybe aren't fair or really aren't, right. But at the end of the day, our superpower lies in the fact that we have the ability to take 100% responsibility. And that's why Kylene and I love this E plus R equals O thing so much, is that, E is the event, is what's happening to us, what that situation is. R is our response, how we respond to that event, equals the outcome. So we have control of that R part. And if we can, keep control of that R part as best we can. Again, situations happen. And I know that there are times when it's not always that easy. We feel like we're getting pooped on or whatever the case may be there. But if we can take 100% responsibility for our part of it, what is the response to that situation? And maybe we end up with a customer that's not always the easiest to deal with. Well, how do we respond to that? Are we honest early? Do we tell them no? Did we do our part up front? And if we did our part up front, then embrace that and learn from it and move forward. So
Yep.
let's catch a couple of comments here real quick. Cheryl says, when something is so close to your heart, it's hard to take criticism, but it may be the best falling forward you can have.
Mhm.
Pats on the back feel good, but don't help us grow. That's a
Yep.
huge point.
Yep, I like that.
Cheryl. Yep. And like you said, this is something that's, our businesses are something that are so close to
Mhm.
us. We've put our, blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak, into this. It's the same with a marriage and all that stuff. We take it very personally, because it is personal to us. It is
Mhm.
our life. But if we can have that conscious opportunity to say, you know what, I can control the response.
Yep.
And if I can control my response, then that means I can control the outcome. So
And get more of what you want.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Crystal, good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. And Ruth said, not to be a one-upper, but I just poured number 3. What a week. Because Jim said he's working on my second cup.
That's funny.
Jim says, I have all day to drink my normal stuff. So Jim is a coffee guy. Jim, what's your coffee of choice? I don't know if I have a preferred coffee. I do end up drinking more Starbucks than I probably should. So I don't know. I know that's a bad habit and it's an expensive habit, but hey. All right, let me see if I can adjust us. Oh, we're getting real wild and crazy. All right, we're going to get this green screen thing figured out. All right, so that's let's see, what number was that?
Was E plus R equals
So you got 1, 2, 3. So we're not moving on to number 4 here.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's number 4, Kylene?
Be focused. So
explain that to us, Kylene.
This is probably the hardest one for me.
Yeah, look, squirrel. It's the hardest one for both of us, obviously.
Yeah. Even you doing that makes me.
All right, just right there. Right. There's your peeps. Talk to them about being focused, please. Well, I'm not focused.
Well, being very clear with what your intention is. So when you have a new opportunity presented to you, or you tried something and it didn't go as well, be focused in what you want to achieve. And was it Cheryl that said, just be persistent as you move forward. So every day you'll be one step closer to consistency. Yeah.
Consistency is key. Yeah.
Yep. So to me, that's what it means. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. If you are focused on a goal, and this is why it's important to have goals, is because then you can be focused on it. Do you have one of our little daily plan things that we've been doing handy, or is that, did we put that up? Excuse me.
No.
So one of and it doesn't matter what's written on here, but we've been kind of working really, really hard on getting ourselves planned out. We've got so many things going on in our lives right now that, and just like all of you do, that we've found it very important to make sure that we're working on the right things. And to do that, we've done stuff like this where we've put together some things to, again, stay focused and understand what it is that you want to do. So see, Todd, shiny object. I just looked and there I went. I'm off track. And Cheryl says, my passion helps me stay focused. And that is true, and that's what I love about Cheryl. She's somebody that's passionate and, focused and works super hard towards her goals. And she knows what she's after, and she knows what she's trying to do. And I really look up to her for that, because that's what I want to be. I'm typically a fairly passionate person. Is that correct?
Something like that.
Something like that. Passionate.
The moderation part is never there.
See, there's I don't understand even what that word is. Moder something.
Moderation.
Okay, I have no idea what that is. But being focused and then being persistent. Cheryl said consistency is key. I already told my story about Two Regular Guys. That consistency. Yeah, we have not been the best podcasts in the world, but you know what? We've shown up every day. We got a really nice compliment from Jay Bassell yesterday, where he basically just said, the work that we put in to show up every week, is what he respected about us. And and honestly, that's what it's taken, you know. And I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by a really good friend in Terry Combs, who, you know, when I've not been as focused on it, he's been focused on it, and same for him, where we've been able to help each other and do all that stuff. And again, Kylene and I are able to kind of carry each other. I always think back to that poster, that motivation. I don't know, it was a motivational type poster, but it was basically like footsteps in the sand, and it talked about, you know, why sometimes there's only one. I don't know. I'm going way off the course here, but basically, you know, that support and that focus on what that goal is. And so Cheryl mentioned consistency is key. You've mentioned persistence. So let me see if I can get this figured out here. And oh, see, this is how you can explain moderation to me. Because beers come in 24 to a case. That doesn't mean you have to drink them all at once. You don't? Huh.
I appreciate that.
Interesting. And then Ruth says, my interests are many and varied. I have a really squirrel. Hard time saying squirrel focused. I love you both doing these lives. It adds so much to them. I agree, Cheryl. I appreciate Kylene joining me here. This has been fantastic. And I am pretty excited about doing this every week, especially when Kylene's going to be with me here. All right. So I'm going to try to play something. This is a story out of Napoleon Hill's book. And it's, I just blanked on the name. Think and Grow Rich. Good grief. Think and Grow Rich. And Joe, thank you very much. Help me out here. One set of footprints because I'm carrying you on my shoulders. That's cool. Exactly the one I was talking about, Joe. Thank you. And that's what it takes, you know, having that tribe, having those support folks, but just, you know, continuing to push forward. You know, that particular quote's about. So anyhow, I'm going to try to play this. This is from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And it is a story about somebody that was 3 feet from gold. So give it a quick listen here, and we'll put the little show card up so we're not distracting. And YouTube is scrolling, so hang tight with us while it gets there. We might not be able to play it here. It's not really wanting to. There it goes.
Wealth. An uncle of R.U. Darby was caught by the gold fever in the gold rush days and went west to dig and grow rich.
All right, guys. Well, that's really annoying, so I apologize. We'll here, come back here. Okay, so there's a failure. We gotta fail forward, right? Keep moving forward. All right, so I'm gonna briefly tell the story. It's not certainly going to be as good as Napoleon Hill did it. I will get you guys a link to where this story is, because to me it was very powerful. And basically, what happened is a gentleman back in the gold rush era, you know, when everybody was going west to chase the gold, he was in Colorado, and he found some gold, and he started mining the gold, and he found enough gold that it seemed like he was on the right track, and it seemed like he was going to be, you know, getting rich. And what happened is he went back to Pennsylvania, where he was from, and he got his family, raised some money, got a bunch of equipment, and, you know, basically staked his whole life on this whole gold opportunity. And they get out there and they start mining the gold, and then they're doing pretty good, and things seem to be going. And then all of a sudden it runs out. To them, they are out of gold, and they are really struggling. So finally they just cut their losses and move and sell it to a junk man, I believe is how the story went, and leave. Well, the junk man took a look at this, and he said, hey, I know I need to go get somebody that knows what the heck they're doing here. And so he went out and he got a mining engineer, and the mining engineer went and looked, did some calculations, and his calculations told him that they were just mining in the wrong direction, and that they were actually 3 feet from the gold ore that the vein that they were looking for.
Mhm.
And that 3 feet distance ended up being exactly how far away that they were from the mine. The junk man ended up taking millions and millions of dollars out of this mine. And that R.U. Darby, gentleman that you maybe heard there, he went on to discover that he was 3 feet from gold, and that he, obviously persistence was not his strength at that point. Well, he went on to become one of the greatest salesmen of insurance ever, I believe is how the story goes. And he learned a lesson from that he was 3 feet from gold one time. And so that from there forward, he would never give up.
Yep.
So that's what the story was all about. Again, I was hoping that we could hear it, but we'll get you a link to find that. So persistence is the key. That's how we manage failures. We just keep moving forward.
And then asking for help. Like I knew to ask the expert for help and guidance.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Okay.
To keep moving forward.
All right. And then, so that's what, number 4?
Yeah.
Yep. So the 5th point here, and come on in.
Okay.
So get yourself in the middle of the screen there, Kylie. All right. So what's the 5th point here, Kylie?
So every failure is really a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. And that's a great point. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it's a learning opportunity. That failure, you can learn from it and keep moving forward. Again, you're still one step closer to achieving your goal.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So when you talk about, the fact that, so this, I guess to me really kind of sums up this whole thing.
Yep.
Because why all of these things we've kind of talked about getting over failures, but we also really wanted to talk about how do you actually use failures to your advantage and
look forward to
when
them.
you change your mindset. And I think we've kind of alluded to this throughout this talk here this morning, but when you change your mindset to kind of embrace change and look forward to this, is you look at failures as a learning opportunity. You have to get feedback. So we talked yesterday in the Two Regular Guys podcast on ways to make your customers love you more. And one of the things we talked about was the fact that you need to follow up. And Terry made a good point that most of us don't follow up after the fact because we are afraid of the feedback we're going to get. We're afraid that somebody's going to tell us that we did a bad job, or it wasn't right, or they didn't like it, or whatnot. So when you change your mindset and you look at those failures or negative feedback or whatever, however you want to say those things, is you look at those things as that feedback that you need to get better. So failure is a blessing in disguise. And an article that I had read talked about approaching every day as a school day. If we're focused on learning something new every day, we can take these quote unquote failures and we can turn them into a lesson, a learning opportunity, an ability to grow and get better. So Cheryl has a quote from Zig Ziglar, and Zig is a great guy to follow, especially around this topic. He says, failure is an event, not a person. So you're not taking it personally. It's an event. And if you take that and you spin that back into the E plus R equals O formula, failure is that event. You have control over the response, which then in turn it makes the outcome. So what's your thoughts on that there?
Well, I think I wouldn't be where I am today with WeHeart.biz if it wasn't for all the failures that I've had along the way, and for you reminding me to keep moving forward and then asking for that feedback. I think that's been the hardest, is asking for the feedback. Yeah. Because when you're scared, sometimes you don't want to know. You're just proud that you did it, but you're not going to learn anything from it if you're not willing to. Yeah,
it's kind of the ostrich effect. When we're afraid, we want to just bury our head in the sand and pretend like that scary failure, scary stuff, scary whatever is not out there. Well, the scary stuff is out there. What's fear? What's fear an acronym for?
Fantasized
Experiences.
Experience. Okay, you better say it.
Fear stands for fantasized experiences appearing real.
Thank you.
And so again, if you're embracing failure, if you're gonna look at everything in front of you as a learning opportunity, this is how we profit from failure.
Yeah.
So the story that we were kind of trying to get told there from YouTube that wouldn't work for us, the 3 feet from gold story, is goes on to the real moral of the story was the fact that even though that guy didn't pull the millions of dollars of gold out of that mine, he went on to be probably more wealthy than he would have been as a mine owner,
Mm-hmm.
because he learned from that failure. He learned from that mistake to have persistence, and he was persistently there, and he became, again, one of the top selling, I think it was life insurance or something along those lines. So so we've talked about, throughout this, we've talked about, there you go. And this, and here we go. Todd says, I'm more afraid of what if than failing. And Todd, see, I'm that exact same way. That's probably why I take on too many things, is that I would rather fail at things than miss out on an opportunity. I worry more about all of those opportunities that I miss. But Kylene, we've talked about, you and what's gone on with WeHeart.biz and things like that. But are there any things from your experience of watching me grow and progress that you can tie into this whole subject?
Oh man. Well, even when you started Small Business Saturdays, I think at first, I mean, you were just doing them in the basement, and it was going to be what, 10 minutes,
10, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going on 36 minutes right now.
Yeah. And now it's become this huge thing, but you were persistent. Even when you had some setbacks, you just kept moving forward every Saturday, just like your 2 regular guys.
Yeah.
Every week that you're there.
What were some of those setbacks? Do you remember any of them?
Well, internet was one. Scheduling was one.
Yeah. And we're still tweaking the schedule a little bit here. I think we've kind of found this early morning thing to be pretty good, but it does make for some interesting time. For whatever reason, Friday nights seem to be the night that we stay up as a family and watch TV and kind of time waste a little bit. And my son and I were up until 11 o'clock watching the Explosion show last night, so we didn't get enough sleep. And so anyhow, here we go.
Yep.
Todd says, quote from Dory, which is a great quote. Just keep swimming.
Yep.
Just keep swimming. We've actually watched a show with our family here, and I cannot remember the name of it now, but the one with Lewis and
Meet the Robinsons.
Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah.
So go look that up. It's an interesting. It's a cartoon, and it's a funny little movie, but the message is huge, and they celebrate failures, and what's their keep moving forward, and so in fact we've really incorporated that into our family and into our lives. Is this like, hey, you know what, son, you've that didn't work out. That Lego piece didn't go together how you wanted it, or whatever. But if you can just keep moving forward, moving forward,
try it a different way.
Try it a different way. Yep. So, Cindy's got a question for you, Kylene. How did your vendor fair, your show go last Friday?
It was really good. It was an interesting event. It was out in, as you guys saw, it was in a old barn. So the lighting, the setup, all that stuff was a little different, but it was good. We had a steady flow of people. I met some really nice people and got to talk about WeHeart.biz. So that was really nice. Yeah.
But what were some of the failures?
Well, I didn't have the sales that I was hoping for. That was a big one.
Any idea why that may have been?
Well, I don't think enough people really knew about the event. I should have probably pumped it out a little bit more to some of my local friends. It also was advertised a little bit differently than what the actual event was. The advertisement made it sound like it was going to have live music and food, and we'd all be in the same area. But we were actually placed in a completely different building than where the music and the food was.
Yeah.
So I think some of the people didn't come over. Yeah, I think that could have been part of it. It was a really cold day as well. I'm proud of how it did go,
Yeah.
though.
And this is what I love about Kylene is she's focused on the good things. And, you know, what I'm pushing her on, which again, more my nature and me, not her. So, you know, I'm pushing her on. Okay. So what did we learn from that? What's the, you know, cause I see, you know, the things that she's talking about is, you know, okay, so how do you take responsibility for that? How do you work on, you know, learning from that experience? You know, ask these questions up front, make sure that things are clear. You found out basically the day before, right? I think it was when you found out that there was actually no assigned spaces.
No, we found out the day of when
The
we
day
showed
of.
up
Yeah.
that there was no assigned vendor spaces. So you can imagine all the vendors appearing with all their stuff and they don't know where to go. And they're in this little barn. We were told we were going to have tables and chairs, and it was a barn set up like a home. So there's big couches and stairs, and it was a disaster. And thankfully, all the vendors got along really well. But you know, some people had physical issues and they showed up late. Well, they had trouble getting all of their stuff up those little narrow stairs, and it was a kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, you know, where you can only take care of your R, you know, and that event was that. Again, you know, so what do you do up front? You know, Cindy's got a good point here that sometimes it's just getting out there. You never know who might see you and remember you for later. Absolutely. You like I said, you made some great connections, and
I really grew my email list. A lot of people were interested in doing that. So that was huge.
Yep. Yeah.
And then the other vendors that were there, we networked, and so I have more connections here in the community. So that was great.
Yeah. 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 Jim says, I find fairs are not so good at the fair. I find that after fair is where the customers are.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jim. And Jim, the reason I love that point a lot too, is the fact that if you're somebody that's just looking at like, okay, here was my goal. I didn't make the sales. And, you know, and that's where I sometimes get myself stuck, is like, well, I would never do that again. I didn't make any money. I didn't, you know, and so you're looking at what that bottom line number is, but you can't necessarily, now you can, there are some things that you can do to track that and to, you know, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, go back and go, okay, was this actually worth it? But you got to go with your gut here a little bit too. And so that's one of the other things that Kylene and I have talked about a lot. You know, I push and prod, and I think she's afraid, but you can tell. I mean, you're worried about what I'm going to think, right?
Well, yeah, it's our family, it's our livelihood. I don't want to just go and spend this money to do this fair and then not make any money in return. So that's where my mind went right away, even when I was thinking about doing it. So you really helped me move past that, see the big picture of what all of this could be.
For sure. Okay. Yep. So Cindy says a learning experience. Your table set up looked great. Sometimes you have to promote yourself even at the fair.
Yeah.
And Jim says the fair is just to get your name out to the folks. And so really good points, guys. Yeah. So
thank you.
And again, we're big proponents of that kind of thing. The fairs, the crafts, just getting out into your community. And again, maybe it's not that you're selling, but I mean, you've made some really good connections. You know, you've got a great connection with the candy company that you ended up working with. There was a jewelry lady that seemed to be right. And honestly, there were some connections that she made that could be great for our success group. But, you know, I think there's a few of these folks that were out there at the fair that could use some of the foundation stuff that we've done with our success group. So look at that bigger picture and look at all those things. So let's see here. Todd says, we go into every event planning for zero in sales. So everyone is a win. You plan for months for your weekend event, only for Mother Nature to step in and say, here, hold my beer. And Cindy says, I think you have to say this before. You have to be your biggest and loudest cheerleader. Yeah. That's a great point, Cindy. Yeah. And Wade says, vendor fairs are just advertising for me.
Yeah, I like
perfect
this
way to
mindset.
look at that.
Yeah, that's great.
Jerry, yes, I will see you in Kansas City. Come by booth 403, 405, something like that. And Joe says, even the bigger, better trade shows we've all done, never count the sales of the show. The key is follow up the days and weeks later. That's a really good point, Joe. I know, especially back in my early days with Scott at US Screen, they made a lot of sales at the show, a lot of them. And until Bill and myself came along, they didn't have the bandwidth to do anything but those sales at the show. And so, they found that they were counting success based on the sales that they made at the show. Well, once Bill and I were able to show up there and provide the Fresners with a little bit of help and support, it took a little bit though. And I had to go, Scott, it's okay. I know this show didn't, do the X number of dollars, but look at this list of leads, so we're going to go back and talk to them and we're going to follow up. And so, yeah, that, Kylene's already sent out an email to the folks that she's there with that signed up. Hopefully there's a few on there that seem more interested than others that you can make direct contacts with and do that kind of stuff. So really good points. Okay, guys. Well, we've gotten over into bonus time here, and I think we've covered everything. Let's just real quick, Kylene, you want to give them the 5 keys to failing forward here from the Montgomery's perspective?
Okay. So no regrets.
Number 1 is no regrets. Okay.
Yep.
What's number 2?
Face what isn't working and embrace the change.
All right. Number 3.
Take 100% responsibility.
Number 4.
Be focused.
And last but not least,
every failure is a blessing in disguise.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
All right, you guys. So thank you so much for all the comments, for joining us and for participating and all the great feedback. And hopefully you guys have also learned something and can put something into action today. What thing out there are you afraid of that you need to just go for and use that, fail fast, as Ruth said. So post out there. Jerry says, each year we make apparel and other items for a landscape company that we met at an apple butter festival several years ago. Their first order was 5 months after I gave them a card and flyer. They order a couple of times a year. Cool. So there you go, Jerry. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome.
So how do you wrap your head around, okay, if this is going to cost me X, how do I get to to why I'm doing this, so to speak. But you can't do that because, again, you're still reaping the benefits from that event that you did years later. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Cool, guys. All right. Anything else, Kylene?
Nope,
before our green screen totally goes bonkers again? We're going to get it. We're going to figure out some lighting here and get this green screen thing to work.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. We are off to play a little volleyball. Kylene's even going to play today.
Yep.
And then we're going to go bowling tonight. So
it'll be a fun day.
Look for look for lots of, I don't know, probably not lots, but look for some pictures on Instagram and stuff like that. We're going to go enjoy a family day before I start my whirlwind trip, and Kylene's coming with me to Las Vegas. In fact, if you are going to be out at the Awards and Personalization Expo, the International Awards and Personalization Expo, get in touch with us. Just hit us on Facebook or whatever, and we'd love to see you. We're actually really looking forward to having dinner with Cheryl and her husband on Tuesday night, I believe. Yep. And so thank you guys so much for that. But yeah, we'd love to meet up with you and share a coffee or a beer or whatever, whatever we can do. So thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your Saturday.